Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Arina and I'm from class 4A. So in this opportunity, I would like to present my analysis report about my analysis report of two types of text. So the first informative text and then expressive text. So without further ado, let's move to the presentation. Okay, so the first material I will discuss about informative text. So, the original text was taken from CNN Indonesia article, and then the title of the news text is that I take is sadar enggak letak kancing baju pria dan wanita berbeda, ini alasannya. So during the translation process, I use several strategies. So the first is formal language. Why I choose formal language? Because we know that informative text, especially the news, generally use semi-formal or formal language because that is communicative and easy to understand. And then another reason is the purpose or the goals informative text is used to attract readers while delivering information clearly. So that's why I use formal language become the strategies during the translation process of this text. Okay, let's look at some examples. Okay, so there is the phrase sadar enggak was translated as have you ever noticed. So if we compare to another option of translation, there is did you ever realize and then have you ever noticed. So have you ever realized is more attract and then it's more natural and then it's more easy to understanding. Okay, so that's why this just makes the translation sound more formal and appropriate for an English informative article while maintaining its informative function. Okay, I'll move to the second strategy is number and format consistency. Okay, I will give the example. Okay, so there is phrase selama ratusan tahun was translated as for centuries. Okay, 4 centuries, if we compare 4 centuries and then 100 for 100 year, one for 100 year is too long. So that's why we choose we choose 4 centuries, and the meaning is still same with 100 year because 4 centuries is 100 year. So that's so to maintain the number consistency, I choose 4 centuries than 100 year. Okay, and then to maintain the format consistency, the article begins with a common phenomenon that people often notice and then continues with factual explanations and historical background. This helps keep the form information organized and easy for readers to follow. Okay, and then move to the third strategy is omission of redundant words. So, honestly, I'm not really use these strategies because I have to maintain the information clearly, and then I have to make sure that all information have to deliver and have to present to the people, to the readers. So the omission was used only in limited case because most information needed to be retained for accuracy. But I still have some example of omission in this result of in the result what is it the result of the target language translation. There is phrase yang terus bertahan hingga sekarang was translated as have persisted over time. Okay, although the phrase hingga sekarang was not translated directly, its meaning is still conveyed through the use of present perfect tense and the word persisted. Okay, so that's why I just translated hingga sekarang with persisted because the meaning of hingga sekarang is still conveyed through the use of present perfect tense and the word persisted. Okay, and then another example is the sentence baju wanita dan pria memang berbeda. The word memang was omitted because its emphasis is already represented by the word differs. Okay, next, I will explain how accuracy and clarity of meaning were maintained in this translation. Okay, to maintain the accuracy and clarity of meaning, I use several technique translation. So the first, I use established equivalent, and then modulation, and then transposition. I use three techniques translations. Okay, so the first translation is established equivalent. So this technique is used for terms that already have standard English equivalents. For example, industry fashion was translated as fashion industry, and revolution industry was translated as industrial revolution. Okay, so using established equivalents helps maintain accuracy and prevent misunderstanding because our culture, if we compare our culture and then English, what are Britain people, English people is not this, is not same. So we have to search, or we have to look for the equivalent word. Okay. Again, the second technique is modulation. So this technique adjusts how meaning is expressed so that it sounds more natural in English. For example, the phrase bangsawan Eropa was translated as European aristocratic traditions. This translation refers not only to European nobles but also to the social tradition associated with European aristocracy. Okay, and then the third technique is transposition. These techniques change grammatical structure of the source text into a more natural structure in target language. For example, the first memiliki latar belakang sejarah was translated as is rooted in historical traditions. This expression sounds more natural in English while preserving the original meaning. Okay, so at the last, there is a challenge. So, actually, the first challenge is I can't apply the omission strategy, the omission of redundant word, or during the translation process because I'm not sure if I remove one word or several word, I'm not sure that the information will delivering clearly. So that's why I have to struggle during use omission strategies. And then another challenge was translating culture and historical elements that do not always have direct equivalence in English. So this hard for me because I have to search and looking for the equivalent in English, and um I can't accept and what is it? I can, yeah, menerima directly because we have to search the source is valid or not. So that's the second challenge. Okay, so we have to move to another analysis, which is expressive text. Okay, so the next presentation is about expressive text. So I will be present expressive text, and the original text was taken from bakapetra.co, and I will show you the web here. Okay, so because there is a lot of types of expressive text, so at the end I decided to choose short story to be analyzed. So the title of the short story is Temani Jenazah by Cherima. Okay, unlike informative texts which focus on delivering information, expressive texts emphasize first aesthetics, emotions, and readers' experiences. So that's why I have to apply the right strategies during the translation process of expressive text. So here's the strategies. So the first strategy is adaptation. So the technique is used to translate cultural elements that do not have direct English equivalents. For example, the word zuhur was translated as the noon prayer. Okay, so actually in this case I can use a borrowing strategy, but at the end I decide to choose adaptation because I want to maintain I want to maintain the meaning, okay? Because this choice helps international readers understand the meaning while preserving the Islamic cultural context of the source text. So that's why I prefer to choose the noon prayer compared to zuhur because I'm not sure that international readers will understand if I use zuhur like that. Okay, and the second strategy is modulation. An example can be seen in the sentence sabun beraroma lavender mulai menyeruak masuk ke sel olfactory, which was translated as the scent of lavender soap began to drift into the air. Okay, so instead of translating self olfactory literally as olfactory cells, the translator focused on the sensory experience intended by the author, making the translation sound more natural and poetic. Okay, so in this case, the phrase cell olfactory was translated to be into the air. Okay, so cell olfactory was not literally translated as olfactory cells. Okay, because sound is unneutral, so and not poetic, so that's why olfactory cells was translated to be into the air. Okay, and the third strategy is transposition and reformulation. For example, the sentence jenazahnya korban kecelakaan dengan sebelah kiri badan sudah hancur was translated as the deceased had been a traffic accident victim. The left side of her body had been crushed beyond recognition. Okay, so the sentence structure was changed to fit English narrative style while preserving the tragic tone of the original text. Okay, and the first strategy is imagery preservation. Okay, because this is a literary text, imagery is very important. For example, the expression raungan ibu dari yang meninggal ini seperti trompet sangkakala was translated as her mother's will sound like a trumpet of judgment. This translation preserves both the metaphor and the emotional impact intended by the author. Okay, the last is omission of redundant words. Okay, this strategy was used only when necessary to improve readability without changing the meaning. For example, the phrase acara kedukaan was not translated literally but was represented by the expression wherever that arrived. So, the phrase acara kedukaan was not translated literally because acara kedukaan still convey through the phrase wherever that arrive. Okay, so but the atmosphere of grief is still conveyed even though the wording has changed. Okay, and how to maintain accuracy and clarity of this translation? So important information that supports the storyline was preserved, such as the process of washing the body, and then the condition of the accident victim, and then directions of the mourners. And then in addition, cultural terms were explained in a way that is easier for international readers to understand, such as translating zuhur as the noon prayer, and then another word or another phrase which is cell olfactory was translated as a drift into the air. Okay, so that's the way I maintain the accuracy and clarity, which is I translated the phrase or the word literary, and then look for equivalent in English. Yeah. Okay. So move to the challenge. So actually, the most challenging for me during translate during translating this text, because this expressive text, so I have to feel the authors. Yeah, maybe. Pokoknya penulisnya, I have to feel the author expression or the author feeling in order to not removing, or in order to make misinterpretation um to the result of translation. Okay, so another challenge where, yeah, same like was preserving the atmosphere of grief, social criticism, and then emotional experiences of the characters in the target language. Okay, so maybe that's all for me. I already talked a lot in this presentation. Sorry if I not really did the eye contact while I was explaining maybe. Okay, so enjoy my video, and I hope this video can make everyone happy, and then made everyone understand about the strategies of translation, and then the technique of translation, and then how to translation in the best way, or the best way, and something like that. Okay, so maybe that's all for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.